What if tomorrow morning you woke up to find every other human being had vanished, except you? Imagine opening your eyes to sunlight filtering gently through curtains, a day like any other, until you notice the eerie silence. No distant murmur of traffic, no muffled footsteps or voices outside your window. Initially, you'd convince yourself it's your imagination, or perhaps an unusual quiet brought on by holiday or storm. But as minutes tick by, the silence grows deeper, more oppressive, until curiosity morphs into unease. You step outside, greeted by empty streets and an overwhelming absence of movement. Cars lie abandoned mid-road, their doors ajar. Storefronts stand unlocked, their windows pristine yet dark. Cafes sit silent, cups of coffee half drunk, breakfast plates untouched, as though the world paused, frozen in a breathless moment. You shout a cautious hello, your voice echoing unanswered between vacant buildings. This echo terrifies you, not because it's unfamiliar, but because it carries a truth you desperately refuse to acknowledge. The world is empty, humanity has vanished, and you're completely alone. At first, disbelief comforts you. You rationalize the emptiness as temporary, some colossal misunderstanding. You turn to your phone, only to find networks silent. The internet refuses to load. Radios whisper static. Television screens glow blankly. Panic slowly rises as the reality sinks deeper. You're isolated, trapped within an empty shell of civilization. Walking through these empty streets, your mind reels. Scenes of sudden abandonment surround you. An open car door still chiming softly. Supermarket lights humming quietly as though waiting patiently for customers who will never return. You remember stories of cities emptied during pandemics, Pripyat's chilling emptiness after Chernobyl, abandoned islands like Hiroshima, and realize these are now your reality. Humanity's absence, abrupt and inexplicable, has turned vibrant life into a haunting museum of memories. Yet, in the quiet dread of realization, your mind suddenly sparks with desperate curiosity. What has happened? Are you truly alone everywhere, or only here? You imagine cities far away, New York's Times Square, London's Trafalgar Square, Tokyo's Shibuya Crossing, each lying just as still, silent, and lifeless. The enormity hits you hard, and your mind desperately seeks reasons, explanations that never come. Like T.S. Eliot famously wrote, "This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but a whimper." And now you are left holding that whimper. Nietzsche believed, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." But how can you find purpose in a world where you've become the last representative of your species? The dread is suffocating, yet a stubborn survival instinct begins to take hold. A quiet voice reminding you that you must keep moving, thinking, living, even if the world has ceased its heartbeat around you. You realize you're humanity's final witness, entrusted against your will to carry this silent legacy forward. And so, beneath skies cleared of human-made smog, you take your first uncertain steps into a world where silence reigns supreme, wondering if hope, in any form, can survive in a universe suddenly empty of everything but you. Within days, the scale of what you're facing becomes devastatingly clear. The conveniences you've taken for granted vanish one by one, as the intricate tapestry of civilization unravels swiftly and relentlessly. First, the electricity fails. Without human oversight, power stations shut down within mere hours, plunging you into nights darker than you've ever experienced. Streetlights flicker out permanently, plunging cities into shadows unfamiliar and unsettling. Your once familiar neighborhood transforms rapidly. Without maintenance, water pumps fail, taps drip dry, and supermarkets' abundant shelves turn from comforting luxuries to fleeting lifelines. Fresh food decays swiftly without refrigeration, mold claiming its territory in a matter of days. Supermarkets become mausoleums, stocked with countless tins and packages, enough to sustain one life for years, but poignant reminders of vanished families who once hurried through these aisles. You recall vividly the images of deserted cities during pandemic lockdowns, the eerily silent avenues, the wildlife reclaiming urban spaces. But this is different. This isn't temporary isolation, it's permanent. Just like Pripyat after the Chernobyl disaster, nature begins asserting dominance over streets and pavements. Grass sprouts through concrete, ivy climbs building walls, birds nest freely in empty offices, their songs echoing through once busy corridors. Your mind drifts constantly back and forth between memories of vibrant, noisy life and this unsettling quiet. These sudden contrasts are jarring. You vividly recall crowded restaurants, now replaced by silence, punctuated only by your own breathing. Once teeming stations and airports, now ghostly shells echoing with the memory of thousands of hurried footsteps. Each day reinforces this surreal existence, a persistent reminder of humanity's fragility. In libraries, your footsteps echo softly across polished floors, shelves laden with books that now feel achingly irrelevant. Yet you gravitate to these repositories of wisdom, seeking comfort among philosophers who understood solitude. Thoreau whispers gently from his pages, "I never found the companion that was so companionable as solitude." You wonder bitterly if he would have felt the same about this crushing emptiness. Even Albert Camus, reflecting on the absurdity of existence, claimed, "In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer." You desperately hope such a summer resides within you too. These philosophical reflections offer brief respite, but they don't erase the pressing reality. Your survival depends on careful, deliberate action. You gather bottled water, medicine, preserved foods, stacking them carefully in secure shelters. Every injury becomes potentially catastrophic, every illness now deadly serious. The collapse of medical systems means you rely entirely on yourself. Books and manuals become your doctors, pharmacists, and teachers. And yet, strangely, amid all this ruin and despair, a sliver of curiosity and adventure persists. You find brief exhilaration in driving empty highways, exploring restricted places like government buildings, airports, or stadiums, once bustling with energy, now still, and echoing only your cautious footsteps. These explorations carry an odd thrill, a fleeting sense of wonder that temporarily drowns out the persistent dread. But each evening, silence returns to reclaim the world around you. As darkness descends, loneliness tightens its grip, transforming your shelter into a fortress against unseen threats. You're left confronting a harsh truth. Survival, though difficult, might be the simplest challenge. It's the battle against the mind, against despair, paranoia, and madness that looms largest. For now, your greatest hope lies in your capacity to adapt, to discover meaning in a life stripped bare of companionship, and to hold on to sanity when the whole world seems to have lost its own. Standing under skies clearer than they've been for generations, stars sparkling with haunting clarity, you wonder quietly, how long could anyone stay sane if they knew they'd never see another human face again? The answer remains elusive, lingering beyond your grasp, an unspoken challenge that will define your days ahead. As weeks turn into months, it becomes brutally apparent that your greatest struggle isn't against hunger, thirst, or the relentless passage of time. It's against your own mind, slowly fraying under the weight of absolute solitude. Psychological studies have long warned about isolation's effects. NASA astronauts trapped for months in orbit, prisoners in solitary confinement, Antarctic researchers enduring months of darkness. all report hallucinations, paranoia, and profound depression. Now that reality seeps slowly into your everyday existence, each day eroding your grip on clarity just a little more. You first notice your mind slipping subtly, conversations you have allowed with yourself gradually shifting to involve imaginary companions, familiar faces whose voices you've begun hearing clearly in the stillness. At night, shadows dance menacingly on your walls, whispering secrets you strain desperately to ignore. You've become accustomed to sudden jolts of terror, waking from dreams where familiar figures beckon silently, their features dissolving into darkness the moment you reach out. One night, the whispers become too loud to bear. You storm through your shelter, tearing apart furniture, frantically searching for hidden speakers or intruders, your breath ragged with panic. Your heart pounds violently, hands shaking uncontrollably as dread overwhelms rational thought, pushing you perilously close to madness. Only when you collapse exhausted, surrounded by ruin you created yourself, do you understand fully. The voices were born entirely from your mind. In that horrifying moment, the realization dawns. Sanity itself now balances on a knife's edge, threatening to topple into madness at the slightest provocation. The terror of losing yourself forces deep introspection. You recall vividly the haunting episode from The Twilight Zone, where a man trapped alone in an empty town succumbs slowly to madness, discovering too late that it was merely an isolation experiment. You wonder now if your own mind is similarly torturing itself, desperately trying to create companions from emptiness to survive its own torment. In a rare moment of lucidity, Viktor Frankl's profound words echo back to you. Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. You understand now the only way to withstand this crushing isolation is to find purpose, however small or fragile it might seem. With deliberate, careful steps, you begin creating daily rituals, routines rooted in preservation and remembrance, cataloging photographs, meticulously organizing abandoned libraries, planting gardens as symbols of hope and renewal. Yet even these tasks can't shield you completely. At times, grief rises suddenly, overwhelming and raw. You find yourself weeping uncontrollably at trivial reminders, a child's toy lying abandoned, a dinner table carefully set for a meal never enjoyed, or the simple sound of your own voice echoing emptily. You mourn humanity itself, not just individuals, but the collective richness of art, laughter, debate, conflict, even trivial gossip that once filled every corner of life. It's a profound loss you grapple with constantly, aware of how much you'd taken human connection for granted. One evening, you imagine vividly a memory of crowded streets, a bustling market filled with vibrant colors, aromas, voices rising and falling in joyful chaos. The contrast with the empty silence surrounding you now is nearly unbearable, sharpening your sense of isolation to a knife's edge. Yet in these moments, you're reminded of Albert Camus, who once wrote from the depths of existential despair. In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer. You cling fiercely to the possibility that within you too lies a source of strength, hidden but not extinguished. Your mind remains a battleground, a place where hope and despair wrestle constantly. Hallucinations still haunt you, but purpose begins asserting itself more strongly each day. You carefully document your experiences, leaving records, journals, and letters as if someone, someday, might discover your story. These documents become lifelines, reminders that your experience is real, that you exist, and that despite crushing isolation, you're fighting relentlessly against being forgotten. In this daily struggle for meaning, you finally comprehend what Thoreau truly meant about solitude being companionable, not because it's easy, but because in profound isolation you're forced to confront and understand yourself completely. Each day becomes a meditation, each routine a quiet rebellion against the silence threatening to consume you. Still, one question lingers hauntingly. How long can you truly endure absolute loneliness without surrendering entirely to madness? The question remains unanswered, hovering just beyond the edge of consciousness, a silent challenge you must continually face. As the first years pass, the world around you transforms dramatically, reinforcing Alan Weisman's prediction in The World Without Us, that without humans, nature swiftly and inevitably reclaims everything. It's astonishing how quickly human achievements crumble. Towering skyscrapers begin shedding their glass facades, metal frameworks exposed to elements they were never intended to endure without maintenance. Each violent storm brings collapse closer. Buildings groan under the weight of snow, ice fracturing their structures with relentless patience. Concrete bridges rust and crumble, their steel cables snapping like brittle threads, allowing rivers to flow freely once more. Underground tunnels and subways flood rapidly, creating subterranean waterways where fish swim casually, oblivious to the structures that once served millions. Nuclear power plants, once meticulously maintained, quietly fail. Cooling systems stop, reactors overheat, releasing invisible plumes of radiation into nearby landscapes, creating new, deadly zones reminiscent of Chernobyl. Avoiding these invisible hazards becomes another grimly practical survival skill you reluctantly master. But alongside destruction emerges vibrant new life. Wildlife flourishes astonishingly, animals reclaiming territories humans stole centuries before. Deer graze fearlessly in city parks now lush with unchecked growth. Packs of feral dogs roam confidently, their mournful howls punctuating quiet nights, both comforting and unsettling. Once captive zoo animals escape enclosures, leading to surreal encounters. An elephant calmly grazing near abandoned shopping centers, lions prowling silently along empty highways, reminders that humanity's dominance was always temporary. This juxtaposition of decay and renewal is hauntingly beautiful. You observe ivy-covered skyscrapers glowing softly in sunrise, glass towers transformed into vertical forests, inhabited by birds nesting comfortably within empty offices. Streets you once hurried through now bloom vibrantly with flowers, butterflies drifting lazily through intersections once crowded with traffic. Nature's reclamation feels inevitable, patient, and powerful, a striking reminder that humanity's achievements are temporary, our dominance merely borrowed. Yet each reclaimed building stirs complex emotions. Awe at nature's resilience mingled with melancholy at human transience. You recall Easter Island's silent stone statues, monuments to a civilization that exhausted its resources and vanished quietly, leaving only solemn warnings behind. Your own cities have now become similar monuments, silent testimonies to humanity's brief, brilliant, yet tragically unsustainable existence. You're struck often by powerful contrasts, such as remembering bustling airports now eerily silent, vast stadiums once roaring with crowds now overgrown and still. Your mind struggles to reconcile these vivid memories with the peaceful yet unsettling present. You remember the loud, vibrant human world you once inhabited, then awaken abruptly to the quiet rustling of wind through empty streets, a profound loneliness carried on each gentle breeze. In this rewilded landscape, practical survival becomes paramount. You learn to plant and harvest small gardens, fish patiently in rivers free from pollution, and carefully avoid feral packs and potentially hazardous animals. Medical concerns grow increasingly significant, as every injury carries potentially devastating consequences. Books and manuals become invaluable, guiding you through self-care and survival skills you never imagined needing. Amidst these challenges, you're reminded starkly that survival is now a relentless balance between caution and courage, aware that even minor missteps could abruptly end your solitary existence. The earth, indifferent yet relentless, offers both danger and sustenance. Understanding its rhythms becomes your greatest strength. Standing beneath a night sky clearer than you ever imagined possible, stars shimmering with striking clarity, you're reminded of Carl Sagan's humbling words, "Extinction is the rule. Survival is the exception." You reflect quietly that humanity, despite all its achievements, remains vulnerable to the quiet persistence of nature, an eternal force patiently reclaiming what it once surrendered. And so, you continue forward, a solitary figure within a reborn wilderness, profoundly aware that humanity's time, however brilliant, was fleeting, an extraordinary yet transient chapter within Earth's long, patient story. After years navigating loneliness, your sense of self has worn thin, almost transparent. Life has become a delicate balance between survival and sanity, solitude and companionship, fabricated by imagination alone. One day, sitting in silence, you realize with quiet resignation that perhaps this is the moment you've truly lost all reason to carry on. Just as you begin to lose hope entirely, something unexpected pierces the silence, a distant, desperate barking. You bolt upright, adrenaline surging, heart pounding fiercely in your chest. For a fleeting moment, you doubt your senses, wary that your mind is once again tormenting you. Yet the sound returns, clearer, closer, undeniably real. Driven by a frantic urgency, you burst outside, eyes scanning wildly, and then you see her, a small, thin dog cautiously emerging from the shadows of an overgrown garden, ribs visible beneath her fur, eyes filled with wary hopefulness. With patience born of desperation, you coax her closer, softly whispering words of comfort. After agonizing minutes, she approaches hesitantly, sniffing your outstretched hand. Her gentle touch shatters the overwhelming solitude, flooding you with warmth and relief you'd forgotten possible. You name her Hope, because that's exactly what she brings. Life now takes on a new dimension, as your days become structured around Hope's care. Simple routines like preparing food, tending to her injuries, and grooming her matted fur fill your existence with a profound sense of purpose. Her presence softens your loneliness, anchoring you firmly in the present. The warmth of companionship is suddenly tangible, real, healing wounds far deeper than you'd realized. You recall Carl Sagan's profound reflection. For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. Now, as Hope nestles beside you during quiet nights, her gentle breathing harmonizing with your own, you feel vividly how love transforms even the bleakest existence into something bearable, even meaningful. Yet companionship awakens new fears. Each illness, injury, or moment of weakness threatens to snatch away the precious bond you formed. You navigate these anxieties daily, understanding deeply the fragility of the hope you found. Nevertheless, the lessons Hope teaches, gratitude, patience, kindness, strengthen you profoundly. Through her companionship, your own humanity is restored, rediscovered through selfless care and gentle affection. The discovery of a working gramophone in an abandoned antique shop brings another spark of joy. You place a dusty record on the turntable, hardly daring to hope as a song crackles softly into life. Music floods the silence, each note soothing old wounds, summoning memories of family gatherings, friends laughing, moments of shared happiness long past. The melodies feel like ghosts of humanity returned briefly, tenderly embracing you, a powerful reminder of the beauty humanity once created. These moments teach you that hope emerges most powerfully from small acts: feeding a hungry companion, listening to music long forgotten, speaking softly into empty spaces, trusting your words still matter. Viktor Frankl's insight returns powerfully. Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. You've discovered purpose, quietly and unexpectedly, in the care of a single, fragile life. Yet amidst newfound happiness, quiet melancholy remains. You understand deeply that hope's life, like your own, is finite. Each gentle touch, each peaceful evening beneath star-filled skies, each playful chase in overgrown streets is treasured precisely because you know it will not last forever. Grief quietly awaits, inevitable, but you refuse to surrender to sorrow prematurely. For now, you savor every moment, cherishing companionship you've rediscovered against impossible odds. Reflecting quietly beneath clear night skies, you're filled with profound gratitude for having found meaning, love, and companionship amid the ruins. Humanity may have vanished, but you and hope remain. Small, resilient symbols that life continues, stubbornly hopeful against overwhelming silence. For now, this delicate companionship is enough, proof that even at humanity's twilight, love endures. Decades pass quietly, each year blending seamlessly into the next, marked only by the slow growth of trees, the steady erosion of human structures, and the deepening lines upon your own face. In these peaceful yet melancholic days, you embark on quiet journeys, exploring abandoned cities and forgotten towns, becoming humanity's final archivist, a silent witness, entrusted unwillingly with preserving what remains of human history. In museums, libraries, and galleries, echoes of humanity's brilliance confront you. Each artwork, book, photograph, or sculpture whispers softly of creators now vanished, their messages suspended patiently, awaiting eyes that may never again look upon them. You gently leaf through fragile pages of Shakespeare and Dickens, philosophy from Plato to Nietzsche, wisdom held captive by silence, preserved but unread. Nietzsche's words haunt you particularly. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. These preserved texts become your why, your quiet rebellion against oblivion. Yet alongside beauty, you discover sobering monuments to human folly. You visit industrial wastelands, chemical plants leaking poisons into pristine rivers, abandoned oil platforms rusting silently into oceans, nuclear plants radiating invisible death into surrounding lands. Each place testifies powerfully to humanity's careless hubris, a species that reached extraordinary heights but ignored catastrophic consequences. You recall stark parallels: Chernobyl's abandoned city of Pripyat, Easter Island's silent statues, and realize your own empty cities have become similarly haunting symbols of humanity's complicated legacy. But among these ruins lies remarkable resilience. Bronze statues stubbornly resist corrosion, silently staring into eternity. Plastic, humanity's tragic immortality, litters beaches, streets, oceans, perverse monuments to human ingenuity. Mount Rushmore's granite faces remain proudly intact, destined perhaps to survive longer than softer monuments of civilization. Ironic reminders that humanity's legacy may ultimately be etched strongest in stone and plastic. Moved deeply by these remnants, you assume the quiet responsibility of preserving humanity's final stories. Your shelter transforms into a humble museum: journals, photographs, artifacts carefully cataloged, each accompanied by letters addressed to hypothetical future explorers. You write of humanity's contradictions, brilliance and blindness, compassion and cruelty, wisdom and hubris, hoping someday someone or something might learn from these lessons. Yet, even as you preserve these artifacts, you're keenly aware of nature's relentless erosion. Alan Weisman warned clearly in The World Without Us, without human maintenance, even our greatest achievements inevitably crumble, returning slowly to dust and earth. Each year, buildings collapse further, books disintegrate quietly, metal rusts stubbornly. Your meticulous preservation feels simultaneously urgent and futile, a poignant reminder that humanity's mark on Earth was brilliant but impermanent. In quiet contemplation beneath starry skies, you ponder if distant civilizations might someday uncover these remnants, piecing together humanity's complicated story through radioactive landscapes, bronze statues, and plastic fragments. Would they understand humanity's complexity, forgive its mistakes, and admire its creative spirit? Or would they puzzle endlessly at the contradictions you've carefully documented? Though you have no answers, your preservation feels profoundly important, an act of quiet defiance against forgetting. Viktor Frankl observed, "Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose." You've discovered meaning, delicate yet profound, through quiet acts of remembrance. Humanity's legacy rests quietly now in your hands. A burden and privilege you're determined to carry, preserving memory until silence claims even these fragile remnants. And so, amidst crumbling ruins reclaimed by patient nature, you continue your quiet work, humanity's final curator, entrusted with remembering its complicated yet beautiful story until your own quiet farewell inevitably arrives. Now, decades into this solitary existence, your reflection in the mirror reveals an aged face, weathered by years of struggle, solitude, and quiet determination. You've become older than you ever imagined possible in a world empty of humanity, yet you found peace within this profound loneliness. The quiet dignity you've cultivated, the acceptance you've nurtured through loss and hope alike, has made each breath meaningful despite its solitary nature. In these twilight years, you often find yourself seated in peaceful contemplation beneath skies clearer than humanity ever witnessed. Stars glisten with piercing brilliance, distant galaxies shimmering silently, each a solemn reminder of humanity's small yet meaningful place in the cosmos. Carl Sagan once wrote, "For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love." In the immense quiet surrounding you now, you finally understand what he truly meant. Love, once shared between billions, now rests quietly in your memories, your careful preservation, your gentle tending of fragile companionship. Your beloved companion, Hope, passed gently from your life long ago, her absence deeply felt yet balanced by profound gratitude for the years you spent together. The collar you kept, worn softly from her constant presence, remains your cherished keepsake, a tangible link to companionship that once filled your existence with purpose. Hope's memory remains vivid, each playful bark, warm gaze, comforting presence, forever preserved in your heart, proof that love outlasts even life's briefest moments. You continue to document humanity's history meticulously, aware of the quiet urgency this work demands. Your journals, preserved photographs, carefully stored artifacts, each bears silent testimony to your devotion. You've accepted these may never be seen, yet their existence remains vital, a quiet rebellion against oblivion, affirming that humanity, for all its flaws and beauty, mattered deeply. Often you find your thoughts drifting toward the future, contemplating whether humanity's story might someday be discovered by distant visitors from unknown worlds. Would they piece together our brilliance and tragedy, kindness and cruelty, wisdom and folly? Would they sense, through your careful documentation, how deeply humanity yearned for meaning, companionship, and understanding? These unanswered questions linger gently, each a quiet wish released into the endless darkness. You recall Nietzsche's timeless observation, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." This wisdom guided you through darkest moments, reminding you continually that purpose transforms even profound suffering into something meaningful. Your why has always been clear: to remember, to preserve, and to quietly bear witness, even when no one else remains to hear your story. Your gentle defiance has defined your life, becoming the quiet heartbeat beneath each action you've undertaken. Yet you now acknowledge with gentle acceptance that your strength, like everything else, is finite. You feel each day more clearly the quiet call of eternity, an invitation you've ceased fearing. In fact, you feel strangely comforted by this nearing transition, aware your solitary vigil will soon conclude, releasing you peacefully from burdens you've carried alone for decades. In these final days, you carefully gather your most treasured possessions: the journals, photographs, Hope's collar, the record player that brought you fleeting joy, and place them reverently in a secure yet accessible location, a quiet sanctuary of memory. Your final act is to write one last letter, a simple, heartfelt farewell addressed to the unknown. Within it, you gently implore any future discoverers of your story to remember humanity not for its mistakes alone, but for its profound capacity for hope, love, and beauty. On a warm, quiet evening beneath star-filled skies, you seat yourself calmly on the steps of your home, breathing slowly and deeply. Your fingers gently trace the edges of Hope's worn collar, feeling deeply thankful once more for the companionship and meaning she brought into your solitude. You gaze upward, silently bidding farewell to the distant stars, grateful for having witnessed such profound beauty. A profound calmness envelops you. Fear has no place here, only acceptance, gratitude, and quiet peace. Your eyes drift slowly closed, heart filled not with despair, but gentle gratitude, for having known love, companionship, and profound purpose amid solitude. In the deep quiet following your final breath, nature gently continues its patient reclamation. Vines creep slowly onward, soft breezes whisper through trees standing proudly once more. Rivers flow clearly, wildlife thrives freely, and stars shine quietly, eternally, above an earth that carries on, gently spinning onward beneath infinite cosmos. Humanity's brief yet meaningful existence now concludes quietly, with dignity and grace, your life and quiet farewell, embodying perfectly what it meant, even in the end, to be human.